Welcome to the Two Guys, One Coup podcast with Dale and Jim, where the truth matters and progressives' feelings don't. We bring you the facts from the perspective of two average, everyday guys who will never apologize for being America first, for adhering to our great Constitution, and for saluting the flag that our brothers and sisters have fought and died for. And now, here's Dale and Jim.
Good day, Jim.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing well. You have a good Easter weekend?
I did. Thanks for asking. How about you and your family?
Yes, we did. Very peaceful, very quiet.
Great
Nice.
Easter weekend, actually. And beautiful down here in free Florida.
Yep.
How bad could it have been, right?
Yeah.
Listen, I want to start by saying, how'd you like the new intro?
Love it.
Love it. And thanks needs to go out to Mark Kramer of the Conservitude podcast with Mark Kramer. He's become a really good friend of Jim and I, and he gave us that intro. Did it for us, and we appreciate it. And when you get a chance, honestly, listen to his podcast. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Jealous of his voice.
Jim, you've got a smooth, velvety voice. I think you could have done it for us.
Could be a little lower, but
that's masculinity issues. I have no idea what the rest. Anyways, let's. This is exciting. This is our first 1 hour episode. We're going to 2 days a week, 1 hour or so thereabout, 1 hour per show. Pretty excited about that. A lot of good feedback on that approach. And we're going strictly, mainly all political at this point, which I think is much needed in this crazy world. And as long as there are voices out there that preach the greatness that our country is and the freedom and fight for it, like we have to every single day, the more the better. So on our end. So, Jim, what are we talking about today? Let's go over what's going on. We got some stories, some pretty good ones. We got, obviously, there's been some mass shootings. I think we've all kind of heard about those. Suspiciously, a lot of them.
More transgender in the news.
More transgender in the news.
Not in a positive way either.
Not in a positive way again.
No.
We also have a story about a candidate in the Philadelphia area that I think you'll find very interesting. And then you have something on
Eric Adams.
The mayor.
Eric Adams, he's like we talked about before. It's just, where is he at? What are we doing here? And he made a comment that a lot of us conservatives feel is true, and he actually said it. And now whether or not people do anything about it's another issue, but we'll get into that as we're talking about that.
He said the good part out loud, which is rare for a Democrat.
Exactly.
And then we'll kind of briefly turn that right into some additional surprising approval ratings for Joe Biden. So
and this segment
we'll work that right in there.
Really surprised me. It really did.
Correct.
And it really spells doom in my opinion, for the Democrat Party.
I agree. I agree. Let's get right into this, okay?
Do it.
So as we've all kind of heard through the news, there's been a series of mass shootings lately. It seems to be a lot more than I can remember in the past.
Yeah, it's
3 over the Easter weekend alone, which is really incredible. And where's this all coming from? Why is it happening now? I have a couple theories on society in general, but let's get into this story. So just so you know, authorities in South Carolina, they're investigating a shooting at a nightclub that happened early Sunday, this past Sunday, that wounded 9 people. It was the second mass shooting in the state and the third across the country just over the Easter weekend, as we spoke about. The shootings in South Carolina and one in Pittsburgh, which you may or may not have heard of. That one involved 2 minors who were killed early Sunday and left 31 people wounded. I didn't really hear about this till recently. So no one was reported killed at the lounge in Hampton County. That's in Charleston, South Carolina. So there were injuries, but in that South Carolina shooting, nobody was reported killed as of this recording. According to an email from South Carolina State Law Enforcement, which is who was investigating the shooting, a phone call to the nightclub was not answered. So they tried to get some answers from just the owners of the nightclub of what's going on. I feel that one might be a little bit more gang related, but that's speculation at this point. Back to Pittsburgh, 2 male youths were killed and at least 8 people wounded when shots were fired during a party at a short-term rental property. The vast majority of the hundreds of people at the party were underage. The police chief there told reporters. The Allegheny County Medical Examiner's Office identified the 2 victims as Jaden Brown and Matthew Ross, both 17. Investigators there believe that there were multiple shooters, and Schubert said police were processing the evidence, and as many as 8 separate crime scenes spanning a few blocks around the rental home. So this sounds like a lot of people knew each other and kind of went on a little, what I can assume might be gang-related kind of activity there. Right. The 2 shootings came just one day after gunfire erupted at a busy mall in South Carolina. Now, you may have heard more about that one, which happened in Columbia. This was about 90 miles north of the nightclub shooting. So 9 people were shot and 5 people sustained other kinds of injuries while trying to flee the scene. So they were trampled on as people were leaving the nightclub. That's what those other injuries were. The victims range in age from 15 to 73. So the investigators said that they don't believe that this was random. They believe they all knew each other, and something led to this gunfire. The only person arrested, this is the interesting part, the only person arrested in the mall shooting so far is Joanne M. Price. He's 22. He's one of 3 people initially detained by law enforcement as a person of interest. Price's attorney, Tom Rutherford, told news outlets Sunday that his client fired a gun at the mall, but in self-defense. Rutherford said Price faces a charge of unlawfully carrying a pistol because he legally owned his gun, but did not have a permit to carry the gun. So he didn't have a concealed carry.
Right.
Columbia police said on Twitter that a judge agreed Sunday to let Price leave jail on a $25,000 security bond. He was to be on house arrest with an ankle monitor. So he's a potential suspect in this shooting, and he's got a $25,000 security bond.
Yep.
Have there not? Let me stop here. There not been lessons learned in the past about going light on crimes, going light on this type of crime, and what happens after the fact? The guy, for one, carried the gun unlawfully, fired his gun. You think an ankle monitor is going to really deter him from wanting to do anything else or try to flee a scene or cut that ankle monitor off or any of that? So he called the police. He turned himself in, this guy. So that's probably why he got a little bit more leniency. He turned over the firearm that was used and gave a statement to the Columbia Police Department, Rutherford said. That is why he got the $25,000 bond. Police said the judge will allow Price to travel from home to work during certain hours each day. Price is forbidden from contacting the victims and anyone else involved in the shooting. So
I mean, house arrest is one thing, but letting him go to work and back.
Letting him go to work. So he gets work release, basically.
And he's a suspect in a shooting.
In a shooting. He's a suspect in a shooting, and this is where, and he's allowed to go back, but wear the ankle monitor. I mean, let's not forget
incredible,
and sleep in his own bed, and South Carolina resident age 21 or older can get a weapons permit. This is some of the law, so which as of last year allows them to carry weapons openly or concealed. They must have 8 hours of gun training and pass a background check that includes fingerprinting. The 3 Easter weekend mass shootings are in addition to other gun violence in recent days. Last week, a gunman opened fire in a New York subway car. We can kind of go into that a little bit. Wounding 10 people. A suspect was arrested the next day Earlier this month, 6 people were killed and 12 others wounded in Sacramento, California during a gunfight between rival gangs as bars closed in a busy downtown area. You might have seen the video of that happening. 1 week ago, a shooting inside a crowded nightclub in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, left a man and a woman dead and 10 people wounded. And last month, 10 people were shot at a spring break party in Dallas, and several others were injured as they tried to escape the gunfire. Now, the subway shooting is quite interesting, if you ask me. To me, where's that story gone?
Yeah.
What happened to it? Honest to God, what happened to it? In your opinion, Jim, the subway shooter was a black man, so neither here nor there at this point, but sort of here nor there, because that tends to not fit the white, redneck, Trump-supporting right-winger who goes on a shooting spree.
Right.
The ones that get all the attention in the media. This is a black man who we know now hated white people. And Jim, you can go into a little bit more about that and how we know that. And all of a sudden that story's disappeared in one of the largest cities in the world,
right,
on a subway train where people are commuting daily by the millions to go to and from work. Mm-hmm. And that story has disappeared off the face of the earth.
Well, we bring it up quite a bit, but we're still leading the news with the Russia-Ukraine war. That because I went on two sources this morning, and that's what it was.
Distraction.
Yep. And but how long was the Rittenhouse shooting on the news?
Exactly.
We want to try not to, this and that, but it's as an example that this doesn't fit the narrative that they want out there.
Correct.
And this guy, now they're questioning why YouTube didn't do more because of his rants on a YouTube video.
Correct.
That has since been taken down, so you can't go find it.
You can't go find it now.
There should have been red lights going all over the place on this one. But no, we're going to take a podcast of the Two Guys in One Coup because we talk about potential cheating.
Yep.
In an election. We get removed.
Within a day or two. Within a day or two of a release of that, we are immediately removed. But this guy, and I don't need it. I know his name. I'm not going to mention. There's no point in mentioning his name.
We don't want to give him
credit for it.
Right.
He goes on these, extensive, I hate white people rants. Yep. Vulgar and extensive rants. And YouTube keeps his videos up there.
I would say go out and watch it, but you can't now.
Yeah, well, YouTube
got now.
Yeah, finally, YouTube got a little pressure, I think, on this one. And if I had to guess, I would say it was FBI or authorities of some sort said you need to remove those immediately. Yeah. And why though? Why did they want them removed? Why did they keep them up there for so long? Why all of a sudden do they want them removed? Again, I think it has to do with it doesn't fit the narrative. They don't want people to hear this.
Surprisingly, he's being charged correctly. He is being charged with domestic terrorism.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank God. Yeah. Exactly. As he should have been. But the FBI knew this guy.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
FBI,
they interviewed him.
They interviewed him. They were well aware of that guy, and knew his rants. Now, is that a predictor for, I bet you there's a million of those guys out there, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I understand the fact that you just can't lock them all up just for making rants, right, just for making those kind of, you keep an eye on them, but how close can you keep an eye on them? I'm not trying to blame authorities for not being able to put them away or anything like that ahead of time. But more so, I blame the fact that the story has disappeared, which I blame the media for.
Right.
And I blame the fact that his rants were allowed to stay up there for as long as they were. I blame YouTube for that.
Yep.
Again, it's just it doesn't fit their censorship narrative of removing conservative voices.
Yep.
Conservative voices off of there, and they allow this kind of thing to continue. Like you said, they removed it. They got a lot of pressure. I think that's they probably had to, and they probably wanted to, because they don't want you and I to now be able to go out there and listen to it and say, how was this allowed to be on for so long?
Right.
Again, it's just another way of it's hypocrisy, more hypocrisy in it. So that's about all we have for that story. Let's switch gears and go on from here.
Okay. All right. Well, the story I have now is, we've been talking about transgenders here in the news, mostly
as our resident transgender
expert. Most we've been talking about from a competitive standpoint, men competing against women in competition. Yep. But this is a different one. This comes out, and I'm sure some people have heard about it by now, but I don't know if anybody knows the name of the individual or anything. But there is a transgender male, trying to be a female, Demetrius Minor. He's 27 years old.
Well, now I understand the name Demi. Okay, Demetrius.
And he admitted that he got 2 women pregnant in a New Jersey prison.
Incredible story.
And one of the women, there's 27 transgender males in this prison. 27.
And this is in New Jersey, correct?
In New Jersey, Mahon prison, in a prison of 800 women.
27.
Okay? 27 transgender. And here was the kicker that stuck out with me. And most of them have not completed the surgery part of their becoming female. Okay.
Clearly.
So here's my problem and my question. Now I know it's New Jersey, whatever, but it's a federal prison. Who's going to pay for that when they eventually have the surgery?
You, me.
See that? No. You want to do it? You find a way to do it. But the ACLU, fought with these prisoners for these transgender people, and there could be of these 27, there may be a few that are, but this guy, I don't buy. Okay, I just don't buy it. I think he's trying to get away from probably a harder prison.
Yeah,
from the male side, wants to be in what a better way than 27 men with 800 women
living a dream. Yeah, the guy's living a dream, right? So in prison.
Yeah. So now the reports were that during their, visitation time or not visit, all the doors are open, so you can kind of move about as you please. And well, apparently they move about as they please. Yeah. They do quite a bit more, and so
apparently.
My whole take on it is that I like about this is, well, I don't like anything about this, but one of the women he impregnated is a double murderer that's serving, and she's going to give birth in the fall.
She's a double murderer.
She, her cousin, another man killed a couple as they unloaded presents from their engagement party in 2010.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah. So, that's neither here nor there, but this is who we're dealing with. And this guy's in prison because he killed his stepfather. Foster father in a carjacking.
Oh,
but so
he carjacked his foster father's car, killed him. And how long's he serving in prison? Do we know?
30 years.
30 years of all the sex you want. What a great guy. What a great story.
Okay, here's the confusing part. I'm sorry. It comes in as saying she is serving 30 years.
I know.
But it's he actually serving 30 years for killing his foster father in a carjacking. Don't know if he carjacked his foster father, but my guess is he killed his foster father, took his car, and left. But wonderful human being. But the point of the matter is, and I'm trying to, how do we establish if they're transgender or not. How do we do that? See, everybody wants to, all the left and the progressives want to sit there and hound us for how we feel about, well, are we sure? The whole Leah Thomas thing, are we sure it's not just to compete and to dominate? What? So we get in trouble for this, but then things like this pop up, and you can't tell me all 27 of those are transitioning.
They are not.
All right, because if I'm not mistaken, if you're transitioning, you're I don't understand it, but
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not medical. Exactly. Yeah. Like how? Listen, there are men, true biological men. Well, just like he is, but true biological men that have low testosterone, that have all. And I'm not talking to the levels of where you have testosterone when you're transitioning or you're finally done transitioning. I'm talking just typical low testosterone. Jim, you get to our age and, things just don't work as well as they should have all the time, right? And so how does this guy who's supposedly right, I would love to know I would like to know where in the process this guy's at. Is he receiving injections? Who's paying for that? Is he literally going through or just saying, I want to transition, I now identify as a woman? That's the part that I really want to know. You just say, I identify as a woman, I'm going to go through this procedure, and then they move you from the men's prison to the women's prison, where clearly all the pieces, parts are still working properly. And I might sound ignorant because I'm not medical, but I don't know when you're going through this, if you still can produce semen, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But this guy clearly can, right?
Obviously.
100% can. And he's basically living in, he's living in an orgy. That's exactly what's happening here.
And not only that, but he's complaining now. He's complaining because he and these other two women are now in solitary confinement. So wait for the ACLU to come in and say, okay, this is not right. This, and have to move all this. So, guys, again, the whole point of this that we're trying to talk about here is that I don't believe all 27 of them are legitimately transgender. None of them, maybe.
Maybe none of them.
I just don't believe all 27. But the hard thing is that I want to start talking about now is that I'll talk about, and none of them have gone through the change in surgery change.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that there's a step process that they have to take.
Correct.
So I have a feeling the people of New Jersey and possibly us as taxpayers are paying for these people to become this. Right?
And if we're not paying for theirs, you're paying for ones in your state, because I'm sure it's happening in Indiana. I'm sure it's still happening in Florida. To me, it's such a fine line between where do you put them? Do you let a person who's transgendering from a male to a female still stay in a male prison when they could eventually have female parts, right? Which then becomes a free-for-all for male prisoners. Or do you transition them over to I understand the conflict, right? As far as how do you approach this? Or do you just now start building transgender prisons? You can't do that. That's ridiculous, right? You can't go to that far. The cost to the taxpayer, that it would be absolutely astronomical. But anyways, go on, Jim. I'm sorry.
Well,
I didn't mean to interrupt
he was 16 years old when he broke into a house in New Jersey. It broke into a house that they had taken him in as a foster child. He was no longer living with them, but he broke in, killed him. He stabbed him several times and then fled to New York, where he was arrested. He was also convicted of carjacking. He approached a couple whose infant son was in their Pontiac Grand Prix at the time. He pointed a Glock 45 in the women's face. Wow. The couple got their baby out of the car before minor sped away with it. 2016. Sorry, he was 16 years old when this happened. Okay, he's 27 now.
Yep. Okay.
He started to transition into a woman in 2020.
That's when he decided. After I've been imprisoned, after I've killed somebody, after he was transferred to what I can only imagine was a very difficult prison, right? I mean, how many of them are easy, but it's a very difficult prison. Then he decided, oh, shit, I got a way out here, don't I? I got to believe that's the thought process here. There's no way this guy's fully transitioning.
Yeah. Well, see, that's
opinion, but yeah, go on.
Well, it's not like, we had that one story of the district attorney in California, right, where this kid kills people, does something stupid, and then he says he's transitioning, and he jokes with his dad on that they're not going to touch me because they're not going to convict me because I'm transitioning into a
we talked
woman,
about that,
and he got off. Yeah, so,
yep.
But this is what this is all about, and guys, look. There's got to be a way to know for sure if these individuals are honestly going through this, because one, it takes away from the people that are truly going through it.
Agreed.
Right? Because we all hear that there's some emotional things here when somebody transgender, especially when you're not accepted by your family, you're not accepted by friends.
Exactly. Exactly.
And so then that's when we look at this and say, okay, what's going on here? Because we know what the percentage, right? It's less than 1% of 1% of 0.5%.
Correct.
Of the population is transgender.
It's a small percentage, but boy, are they in the news.
But man, 27 inmates in a prison of 800. That's higher than the ratio of transgenders throughout the country.
Correct.
And are they doing it because he was getting beat up in the male prison and thought, well, there's a better way for me to do this by going into a female? And again, of the 27, I have no idea where they're at in the stages of their process, but are we paying for it? And if we are, no, we shouldn't.
Do you? We should not be. Do you know by any chance how long he's been in this women's prison? Do you know?
Yeah, he's 2020.
So when he decided, they moved him immediately?
Oh, yeah, because under the ACLU, yeah.
Oh, my Lord. Come on. I mean, this is going to happen all over the place then. It's got to be happening. I'd love to hear the numbers on how it's happening all over the world.
I don't, let's say it. Let's be honest. These female prisons are going to become orgies. It's going to be, that's what it is.
Now, who's paying for the childbirth? What do they do with the child? I'm sure it goes up for adoption. I understand. I'm certain of that. But who's paying for the prenatal care? Who's paying for all the medications that they're going to need? Who's paying for the actual birth itself? New Jersey taxpayers. Yeah. I would have to think, right?
Now the media, how many times do we have, if it was a prison guard that impregnated a prisoner, the up in arms. Oh my God, here we go.
As it should be. I mean,
I get exactly. Yeah. But we're in some cases, nobody is going after this.
Yeah. Well, of course. It's absolutely, it astounds me that this is being allowed to happen. And the fact that just when I say, hey, I'm going to be a woman, let's get you out.
Yeah, let's go. Move on.
Let's get this viral male person in general population with all female prisoners.
Yeah. And was he attacked in the male prison? I don't know, but you're in prison for a reason, guys.
It's not supposed to be easy, right?
Yeah.
Who cares?
It's prison, right? Yeah. So then he, I don't know. I don't know the background of the story. It doesn't really go into it. It just said that 2020, which he would have been 25, and so when he was 16, which was 11 years ago. So looking at what 2010, 2011.
Yep.
So so all of a sudden
there's no
ridiculous.
Way. There's no way.
The system is being taken advantage of. But we got the ACLU. Well, we got to go out and do this. They don't care about our rights. Because if we ever had a situation, like if we wanted to fight YouTube on keeping us off, they're not going to listen to our case, right?
Exactly
that type of thing. But it's a joke. I mean, in some instances, this is a joke. And I'm sorry, if you're transgendering, then put them in solitary confinement. Oh, well, that can't be because that's not right. Well, but we got to figure something out because
something's got to be figured out.
I doubt very highly are transgender. I'm sorry, I doubt it.
I don't believe it for a minute. This guy's transgender,
right,
or wanting to be transgender. He might be going through the steps because, in order to make it look like it, like okay, I'll start taking some hormones. I'll start going. I want to talk to a psychologist. there's a lot of processes you got to go through before you can just say, I'm going to have the surgeries. Right?
But problem is, we're paying for this shit. And I don't agree with it, and I don't like it. It's just like I don't agree with paying for abortions out of the Unaffordable Care Act that's out there. It's not.
Agreed.
No.
Agreed.
No. I don't want my taxpayer money going to that. If somebody wants to do that, I don't agree with them. I don't think they should be allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
But you're going to get it done, then you pay for it.
Exactly.
Not me, not anybody else. Just like your
100% agree. Exactly.
Pay for your damn birth control.
Exactly.
I just get so frustrated. But anyway, and this are just 2 women he got pregnant.
Yep.
It doesn't say how many women he had sex with.
Correct.
So it's like
he's living the dream.
This guy, I think, is taking advantage of the situation.
I believe so.
Making people who are possibly legitimately going through this stuff look bad because how do you take them seriously? Are you doing it for an advantage? Are you doing it for? Which is why you and I are very, very against them being able to compete in female sports.
I agree.
Okay, transgender all you want.
Same reason.
Turn into whatever you want to turn into. I don't care. I have absolutely no problem with it. But you're not doing it to compete against women in a sport. You're just not going to do it. So, anyway, I'm done talking about that. This is
excellent.
Giving too many stories on it. But
agreed.
What do we have next?
Jim, switching gears, sort of. So last segment, we just talked about perhaps not paying for abortions and all. Well, I've got an interesting story about a woman running for the Democratic nomination for the Philadelphia area congressional district. Our good friends in Philly, the fair and, I'm not going to go into the elections. Our good friends in Philly. Anyways, Alexandra Hunt. She's 29 years old, is running for the Democratic nomination for the Philadelphia area congressional district, and has been attempting to leverage her, what they call sordid past, in order to gain an edge over a competition in the race. As a young adult, Hunt chose to become a stripper. They classify it as a sex worker. It's a stripper. So to me, they're a little bit of a difference, right? A sex worker and stripper.
So.
The way you would say it, I don't know. But she studied at the University of Richmond, where she earned a degree in psychology and now has her eyes set on Congress. First of all, I'm going to stop right there. I think, isn't every stripper like going to be a teacher or a doctor or a psychologist? Or this one did.
Because we got to put them through it. We got to put through education, right? That's what you hear all the time.
I mean, that's what you hear all the time. Yeah, you got to put them through the education. Give me more of these Benjamins. I'm going to school. Well, this one actually did. Shocking, but and again, nothing wrong with the profession.
Nope.
You do what you got to do.
Do what you got to do.
That's what I got to do. Jim, I think with our bodies, we could be male strippers. I don't know why we did.
Easily.
But anyways, easily.
Well, speak for yourself.
I know. Oh, we're going to learn more about Jim's sordid past.
That's right.
She also wants everyone to know that she never regretted her abortion. That's pleasant, isn't it?
Some people don't. Yeah.
Her campaign platform, which is pro-drug use, by the way, also includes greater access to abortions, the decriminalization of prostitution, and other progressive promises to erode the backbone of America's society. She'll probably get elected. She's running in Philly. While her campaign advertises her as a youth soccer coach, once it revealed that Hunt had spent time as a stripper, the club she coached terminated her after she refused to stop promoting her past. So they would, because she was a stripper and she was promoting the fact of that, and I'm sure it might have had to do something with, the whole abortion and drug use platform, right? You probably don't want her around the kids.
I don't think too many. Do you think too many fathers fought to get her out, or was it the mothers that fought?
Soccer moms, right? That's who it was. I don't think they really liked her.
I was going, wait a minute, let's be reasonable here.
Let's take it easy. I mean, it's not a sex worker. She was going to college, for God's sakes. Let's help her out. Can't we? In an op-ed for Huffington Post, you know that severe right wing.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Hunt wrote that sex work is only viewed negatively because of misogyny, arguing that it's actually an empowering profession that allows women to own their sexuality and use that to bring money and power to level the playing field.
Right.
So she was able to use her stripper's career to empower her.
Okay.
I've never heard it described that way before.
It's fine.
But she's I believe she's going to be a good candidate for the squad. I'm just telling you. Hunt, Hunt, who became pregnant at 18, claims that because her generation faces a lack of jobs, a lack of living wage, a housing crisis, an affordable housing crisis, a student debt crisis, the climate emergency, the prison industrial complex, and other maladies, she chose to kill her unborn child. Quote, she says, "I wanted to offer my child better," she said. I'm not done, but let's be honest. The fact that she aborted that child is probably better than her raising that child. Not giving it up for adoption, but this wacko should not be raising or procreating in any way.
Matter of fact, we should probably tie her tubes right now.
Controversial? I don't think so.
I don't care.
I don't think so. On last Wednesday, the former sex worker created an OnlyFans account. I don't know much about OnlyFans as an old fart, but from what I hear, you can pay like memberships to see maybe certain body parts of people on OnlyFans. That's what it's been described to me in much more vulgar terms, but that's...
Yeah, but it's hard to upload images of yourself on there. You got a lot of things.
Thank you, Jim. You're the one who told me about OnlyFans.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yours is probably filled with transgenders. I'm just saying. It seems that could be the case. But she created an OnlyFans account in order to fund her campaign. OnlyFans, so here you go, for the fortunate few who are unaware, is a web service that allows prostitutes, amateur models, and professional adult film participants to offer the sale of basically nudes and porn directly to their fans. So you can go on there, Jim, for your information. Again, it's OnlyFans, just so if you want to write that down.
I know.
And while accepting strippers,
I'm very familiar with the site.
Okay. And while accepting sex workers as virtuous members of its society is abhorrent in its own right, that isn't good enough for Hunt. She earnestly believes that they must be accepted as teachers in school as well. Among other monstrous viewpoints expressed in Hunt's writing, one can find advocacy for a high school teacher who was fired after it was revealed she had been using school computers to run a pornographic website. In other instances, Hunt defended a preschool teacher who was fired after she refused to quit doing porn. Where were these teachers when I went to school? What is going on? These are odd positions for someone to take when they claim that education is the cornerstone of their campaign. Is that not the truth? I finish with this. The reality is that Hunt, like many young progressives, see stigma of any kind as a negative influence on society, from personal responsibility to faithfulness to marriage to the virtue of monogamy. It's true. They hate that stuff.
Yes.
They absolutely despise it, and even to the sanctity of life, which she has proven. Each and every tradition is considered an evil that must be snuffed out. It doesn't matter how many babies are terminated, how many girls are trafficked, or how many marriages are ruined. Every negative consequence is met with a dozen unrelated justifications. For instance, how she, Hunt, justified her abortion because she was worried about climate change.
Did you notice?
Yeah.
She had listed every
one of them.
Every single one.
I mean, she is going balls to the walls here to get the progressives to jump on her. And I'm serious. I'm afraid in Philadelphia she's going to get elected.
Is the incumbent a Republican or Democrat?
Thanks for asking. And because I'm such a shoddy reporter, I don't know that.
So
no, it's okay. I don't know who the company is in that district, and I'll follow up and do some research on it. I don't know because
I can't see her winning at all.
I'm
sorry,
either.
I can't. And if she does,
yeah.
Oh my God, Democrats just get with the freaking program.
If you want to look up Alexander Hunt. She's not unattractive. I'm not saying. I mean, she's clearly could have been a stripper. I mean, she's not unattractive, but she's got. Do you know how sometimes when you look at you watch a documentary on serial killers or murderers or something, they've got those eyes.
Yeah.
They've just got. You just see it in their eyes. She's got those eyes. They're dead in there. She's wacko. Beyond extreme,
and it's not the fact that she was a stripper. It's not. No. There's people who live full lives.
Oh yeah.
No matter what you did, whether it was a sex worker or a porn star or whatever, there's a story of an Iowa pastor that used to be a porn star.
Whoa.
So I mean, that
seems like a good story. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's not the point that she was a stripper. That's not at all what it is because they're capable of running and everything.
Of course.
But her stance and what she said, she shouldn't be allowed to run.
She should absolutely not be allowed to run. Jim, like you said, she hit them all. She hit the climate stuff. She hit the housing. She aborted her baby because there was a housing crisis. Because there was a lack of jobs. What? Back when she was 18, she is 29 now. So 12 years ago would have made it 2010, right?
Well,
so, okay, in 2008, she's a Democrat still, but she had to kill her baby because there was a housing crisis, because there was lack of jobs, because I'm not saying none of that didn't occur back then. Was her baby going to buy a house? Was her baby supposed to get a job when it was born? Was to make a living? She couldn't make a living wage back in 2010.
I'm surprised Obama didn't have her and give her an award.
Well, the Congressional Medal of Honor. I mean, why not?
Because she literally she aborted a baby for the reasons the Democrats feel babies should be aborted for.
Every one of them. Cross the gamut. There's no hope for any child in this country. The greatest country on earth. Still today, despite the buffoons in charge, still the greatest country on earth.
Oh, yeah.
Opportunities for each and every individual. Babies aren't born racist, or they're not born, they're taught this stuff, She had a golden opportunity, even as a stripper, to even tell her story. Like, I had to do this to get to this point. This was my only avenue.
Right.
Look how I succeeded. I got a college degree. She could be a success story. Instead, she's a babbling psychopath who is running for a congressional seat in a city that's liable to elect her.
I know.
Let's be honest. Scary. And so, again, will she be elected? Who's she running against? I don't know those stories. I don't know that person, but it really just baffles me that this is literally happened. And I thought, I laugh at it because I'm absolutely in shock. She killed her baby because she was a stripper. Because she was stripping at 18, and you can't be pregnant and go out there stripping. Now, there's obviously probably a fetish for that, and there might even be a strip club for a pregnant. Jim, you might know. I'm just saying that there could be a fetish for that. But she killed it because she was stripping. That plain and simple. Call it what you want. Don't tell me any of this other bullshit about, I couldn't get a house, or there was a lack of good paying jobs. It paid you well enough to get to college.
She didn't want the baby.
She didn't want the
Don't
baby.
make up excuses.
Don't make up excuses.
You didn't want it.
Say
right?
you were in I'd respect you more if you told me you were in a position in your life where you were working in a career that just would not allow that, and
Right.
she needed to have the money. I don't agree with it. I still don't agree with abortion in any way, shape, or form. But at least I would have respected your honest opinion instead of telling me about the housing crisis and climate change.
Yeah.
You know, and if that's what she truly believed, especially in climate change, it's another example of the progressive left being brainwashed by Obamas, by the Bidens, by the Al Gores, by Hollywood, by you name it. It's another example of it. And in this case, it cost a baby's life.
Well,
you know,
I just
they don't see it that way.
See, I thought that was kind of interesting that, 2010 is about the time she had the baby.
Mhm.
When, how many times do we have to hear from the left that Obama's presidency, greatest of all time, he was the best president ever, which you
That's
look at
right.
the numbers and it's like, I'm not seeing it.
I don't see it.
I don't understand.
The math doesn't add up to me.
But I think it's kind of funny that she
I do
did
too.
it because all the problems that I thought.
timing.
Honestly, the Obama administration fixed all that.
That's what I thought.
I mean, climate was better. We could breathe easier. Everybody could
That's
go out.
right.
When we fart, it smells like roses.
That's right.
There's jobs plenty.
Now it generates energy. Your farts. I mean,
Yeah.
there's all. Didn't he fix all that? So
I mean, I can't believe we didn't let him just be Emperor Obama. Trust me, he wanted to. But
he wanted to. And he is now. And he is now.
He was just awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, he fixed all of that.
As he's doing now, allegedly. Jim, that's all I got on this story. Let's move on to our final segment. What do you think?
Let's do it.
Good.
Okay, so we're going to move to now Quinnipiac poll. I hope I'm pronouncing that right.
Quinnipiac. Yeah, that's right.
And Biden's approval rating. Now, when you hear, approval rating low, everyone's thinking the overall rating, which is low, and it keeps going down.
Boy.
This particular one is low for Hispanic voters.
Shocking.
And not just low, but we're talking for record low, right? I mean, from January or April 6th of this year, just 12 days ago, and he was 34%. 34%. Now he's at 20.
A couple weeks ago.
Yeah, now he's at 26. Now, Hispanic voters is a broad spectrum, right? We have Hispanic voters. Cuban Americans are considered Hispanic voters. Puerto Ricans are considered Hispanic voters, as well as
like Mexican, Guatemala. Aren't they? Aren't they all kind
considered?
of? Yeah,
they're all considered Hispanic. So now, as a whole, we talk about Cuban Americans are predominantly very much so Republican because they left Cuba, which is a communist country, and they realized the Democrats are trying to change us into one. They left one. They don't want to come to another one, right?
And a majority of them live in free Florida. I mean,
exactly.
Which is also a benefit. But
and that is true. Yep. Marco Rubio happens to be one of them, right?
Correct. Yep.
And so we look at this, and so now it's like, well, this isn't making sense because, the Hispanics are, we always hear that they heavily side with the Democrats. Well, this poll and all of this stuff shows us that that's not the case.
Yeah, correct.
Legal voters of Hispanic. Now, I don't know. It just says registered voters, Hispanic registered voters.
Yeah.
We all know illegals in some states and some areas can register to vote. So they would be included in this, which makes the percentage even more shocking.
That's me too. That's what I'm saying. If they are included in that poll, that is absolutely a death sentence for the Democratic Party, to be honest.
Now his overall percentage is 35%, which is like, I mean he's, obviously he's never going to be as low as what Congress is, because Congress is
is always historically lower, but it's Jimmy Carter low. I can tell you that.
He can see it.
Yeah.
Normally, the presidential candidates can't see the low ratings of Congress.
Correct.
He can see it.
Yeah,
because this is how bad it is, guys. And I want to know the people out there that actually think things are going well. Because when you look at I just want to say, according to data, only 12% of Hispanic respondents approve strongly. Okay?
Wow.
I want to meet those 12.
Well, I do too.
Well, if you compare it to their living conditions in Mexico, maybe it is better.
Yep.
Of Biden's performance as president, coupled with an equal 12% who approve somewhat. So there's 24%.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So a staggering 41% of the Hispanic respondents disapprove strongly.
That's incredible.
Now that's disapprove strongly. That's 41%.
Yeah.
And then 13 who disapprove somewhat.
Mm-hmm.
So right there's your 54%.
Yep.
Okay?
Correct. Yep.
So again, Quinnipiac is usually the poll that a lot of people. You got Rasmussen poll, Quinnipiac.
It's one of the benchmarks, Jim.
Yeah, these are the ones that most people say, hey, they're pretty accurate. I think Rasmussen was more accurate with the most recent presidential polls than Quinnipiac, but for the most part, Quinnipiac hits the polls pretty well.
Correct.
Because they do take, it's an honest assessment of what a range of everybody. It's not like
Correct.
It's not like when the Democrats want to do a poll, they go out and they interview 100 Democrats and 2 Republicans.
Yeah.
So 102,
which happens all the time.
Right.
We know that. It happens all the time.
And so, but that's not what's going on here. And what I found interesting is we talked about the Cuban Americans already.
Correct.
But the Puerto Ricans,
mm-hmm.
How many times do we hear the Puerto Ricans, the Democrats want to make Puerto Rico a state, right? So they can add 2 more senators.
Yep.
Just like DC, let's add it a state, make 2 more senators.
Correct.
Well, but when you talk and interview with these people that are coming over, the Puerto Ricans are more conservative than they are liberal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to figure out where, the Democrats are feeling that if they get Puerto Rico as a state, there's 2 more senators.
It always, Jim, it always surprises me that because Latinos in general are very family oriented. They're generally Christian, right?
Yeah.
They have basic conservative values. Always, to me, it's the illegal, almost criminal Latinos that cross the border illegally, that try to sneak in, that are trafficking people into this country. That's who the Democrats usually target and win, right, for their votes.
Mm-hmm.
But generally speaking, I never could understand why the Latinos would even want to be Democrat. It's almost like the Black community. I don't get why they want to be Democrat based on just their values alone. So it is shocking that this poll is even showing that. Mm-hmm. That I think what has taken place over the year, and let's face it, Latinos come over to this country, like you said, the ones from Cuba, even people coming over legally, they come over here for a better opportunity. And when you have the highest inflation rate in 40 years, and the cost of goods rates are up higher than ever, they're finding that they can't afford it here either. What's the better life here, right?
Which is why you're seeing because normally when you look at the Hispanics that have come here legally, right? The ones who did it right, the ones who went through the paperwork, had to pay the money, did all this stuff to get here legally.
Took years to get that done.
They're now more of a percentage of them are getting more upset with the illegals coming over, because now you're coming into a country that, it isn't as good as what it was, which is the reason why you want to come over here. Now It seems like they're coming over here for the free stuff they're getting, not for the jobs.
Correct.
Not for the jobs, which was, we always thought, well, they want to work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just come here legally and let's put you to work. But so part of this interview was a person, government and business consultant, Bertica Cabrera Morris.
Okay.
The interesting thing that I like, and I want to read because I'm going to read verbatim so I don't mess it up.
Sure, absolutely.
All right, and it says, to give you an example, I'm Cuban American, but a lot of my family is Puerto Rican. Morris said, the numbers showed that they would come to the United States from Puerto Rico and they would immediately be told they are Democrats. But as time went on, the Puerto Rican community is very conservative. You see Puerto Ricans going to war. They are big time in the service, and they don't like what they are seeing. People think of Puerto Ricans as Democrats, but actually, when they get to the mainland, they think differently. She added, they don't sign in as a Democrat. They sign in as a Republican, or in a very short period of time, they realize what they are. So earlier this year, a number of political leaders within the Hispanic community sat down for interviews and blasted the left's portrayal. This included Senator Marco Rubio, Republican Maria Salazar, both of Florida,
Correct.
Okay, and American Conservative Union senior fellow Mercedes Schlapp.
Yep.
All predicted big gains in support for Republicans from Hispanic voters. So basically what this says, guys, is if the Democrats lose, because we all know they're losing African-American votes.
They are.
All right. They are losing those. And as a matter of fact, I think a larger percentage are going to vote Republican this year than did when Trump. And because that was the highest number that voted for Republican is the last presidential election. So you take away the Hispanic, even if the Republicans don't get 50%, even if they get 40, 45, it's over. There is no possible way. There is no possible way they're going to hold the houses, the House and Senate. There's no way. None. But we shall see.
We shall see.
Because I never thought in a million years Joe Biden would be president.
I didn't either, Jim. I did not either. Do you want to finish up with your the New York City mayor by any chance?
Yeah. Kind of going on to this, kind of tagging up on it. It's like we talk about the overall approval rating, and a lot of the approval ratings for many different reasons. The economy, inflation, just whatever you want to look at. How he handled Russia with this war going on, especially with paying for most of it by buying oil instead of from our own. But anyway, Eric Adams, who, he comes out and he talks about he's pro-police because he is pro-police. He defends the police. But there's also sometimes, when he puts the billboards up in Florida where he talks about, hey, leave Florida, come back to New York. We accept everybody, which
we're allowed to say gay.
Yeah, Florida's not. Anyway, we went over that last show. Florida's not saying you can't be this here. They're just saying we don't want you to teach it to our kids. But anyway, so Eric Adams comes out and, along with the police commissioner, agree progressive politics play a major role in increased crimes across American cities. Now, we felt that. We have always felt that from the conservative side. We have felt that from the district attorneys who are trying to prove a point. For example, the one you just talked about earlier. $25,000 fine. He's on house arrest. He can go to work. And
suspect in a mall shooting.
It's crazy. But the scales right now are tipped very heavily in favor of the reforms of the progressive left. Well intended, some needed, but well intended, which I don't agree with that, whereas some were needed, but a bit too far. And what we have as a result is a growing fear of crime. This growing actual amount of crime is almost every American city, Bratton said during an appearance on the Bloomberg Business Report. Bratton is the former New York Police Department commissioner. So Adams goes on to say major mistakes made throughout the years that destroyed the trust that the police commissioner is talking about. We have to rebuild that trust, Adams said. But we can't rebuild the trust without allowing those who are dangerous and that they have a repeated history of violence to continue to be on our streets. So, look, we're moving forward in some cases because now we've got a liberal who is recognizing that maybe the progressive ideals and are causing the problems with our inner cities. And because up across America, crime has gone up.
Everywhere.
Okay. And I'm sorry, the Biden administration and all the left leaders are at fault. This isn't Russia. This isn't
Can't blame
China.
this on Putin.
This isn't Trump. This is not that. This is in overwhelmingly African Americans do not support defending the police.
No, they do not. 70% plus, I think.
But you've got these individuals who you got African American leaders, politicians that are going for defunding the police, thinking that's gaining votes, and it's not. What it's doing, it's the woke people who are mostly white right?
Yeah.
The white apologists is what I like to call them.
Mm-hmm.
They come on, but the actual African Americans who live in the communities that this is going to affect say, no,
Stop it.
They want, they're not saying the police is perfect. They want better support from the police, better, this and that, but they don't want it defunded.
No.
And so it's just, it's ironic that now we finally have liberals coming out and saying, well, and how many times have we thought, man, I would just love Biden or Psaki or somebody to stand up and say, all right, it's not working.
It's not working. We screwed up.
We really
tried it this way.
We thought it was going to be this way. We thought this was going to work. But that's what I want to hear. Tell me you screwed up. Tell me. Mm-hmm. But no, they double down.
No, they just
double down. We need to give the Americans more money. We need to do this because the billionaires have plenty of money out there. So we just need to. Well, the billionaire money is only going to go so far if you keep giving people money.
Correct.
And it's just
you run out of that. You run out of that eventually.
Exactly.
That's what they don't understand.
Well,
and you're right. They double down on everything. They double down on gun laws. They double down on mandates, on regulations towards businesses. They continue to double down on all of these subjects where it's proven and it's factual that none of them work.
Yeah.
That they're failing across our country.
Yep.
And you're right. Crime is up everywhere, specifically where Democrat policies are implemented.
Where defunding the police has actually gone into effect.
Oh God, that's right.
So
that's right.
It's
and they don't want it, and they don't want this,
and they won't blame it on that.
Mm-hmm.
They won't blame it on defunding the police. They don't.
Oh no.
As a matter of fact, they're not like we get an example. The Lightfoot, the Lori, I want to call her Gordon again, but I can't stop, I guess. But Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago, blames the teachers for not wanting to go to school.
Yeah, exactly.
We did a story on that a few episodes ago, a podcast. And it's like, guys, just tell me, all right, maybe we went a little bit too far. Maybe this was a little bit ridiculous. And you're going to get more respect from people if you do that.
If you do that. It's like admitting a mistake. Like as a human being, you admit you're wrong. I'm learning from it. We're moving on. We're doing a different approach. I personally am going to take a different approach in my life. What I'm doing is not working. A lot of people respect that way more than me saying, oh, yeah, so everything I'm doing is wrong and it's not working. Well, screw off. I'm going to keep doing it and more of it.
It's the Obama presidency. It's always somebody else's fault.
Always somebody else's fault.
Not my fault. Yep.
Always
he was blaming Bush up until the time he left office.
You got that right.
I mean, it's crazy.
It's crazy.
But anyway, that's it for that.
Jim, that was great. Great show. Great stories. Again, we'll be back on Thursday with our next episode. Again, we're Two Guys, One Coup. We're doing it twice a week. They'll be released every Tuesday and Thursday. Mm-hmm. I don't know the time exactly, but I'm going to try to narrow down to when it's going to be on there, when you can listen to it. You can find us on YouTube, on Rumble. You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. We will continue to mention that. You can follow us on our Facebook page as well. And also follow us on TikTok at Two Guys, One Coup. Everywhere you want to find us, just look up Two Guys, One Coup, and you can find us. That's where we'll be. Jim, thank you for an excellent show. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Again, I want to thank Mark for our new intro.
Awesome.
Mark Kramer at The Conservative. Be sure to listen to him as well. Amazing show. So thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody. Jim, great day, my friend.